Today I'm talking with Jezza Roddy, a video game music composer. Thank you for joining me, Jezza. Do you want to start by just telling me a little bit about where you're from and about yourself?
All right, yeah, thank you very much for having me, John. Yeah, so let's see. So I'm from Texas originally, so we're fellow Texans, yeah. I was actually born in New York, but I was a military brat, so we moved around a little bit. I lived in Florida for a little while, in New Mexico for a little while. But I call myself a Texan because I moved to Texas when I was in 5th grade, maybe. And I stayed in Texas all the way until I graduated university. So I call myself a Texan, you know. Yeah, so that's about where I'm from. And I guess I don't know if I should get into like how I got into music or whatever. Do you want me to talk about that too?
I'll get there real quick. You went to university. Where did you go?
I went to Texas State University.
Okay, and did you study music there, or was it something else?
Yeah. So I graduated with a degree in, a Bachelor of Arts in Music. But I went through a few different degrees. I went through a business degree in the beginning. I fell into that mindset of like, let's do business because that's where the money's at. I didn't think I could do music and get money from it, right? But then while I was in university during my first semester, I decided to try out for the salsa band there to see if I can, still keep my chops up on my saxophone because I was doing saxophone at the time, right? So I joined the salsa band, and when I started doing gigs and stuff, I realized that, wow, actually, my heart belongs to music, not business. So I switched to a music major, and I'm not going to go too much into it right now, but I started with music education because, again, everybody was telling me, if you're going to do music education because the only way you can make money is to be a band director. So I did that, and then after a while, I decided, you know what, this band director stuff is not for me. So I switched to jazz performance, and I learned quite a bit from jazz. I think I only did it for like a year and a half, maybe, but in that year and a half, I learned a lot. But then switching majors a lot put me behind about 2 years from my original graduation date. So I decided, let me just switch to a Bachelor of Arts, get done, graduate, so I don't have like too many loans when I'm out. Yeah.
So were you doing music well before that, or did you start around university?
Yeah, I was practically born into music. My first keyboard was maybe like a 32 key little mini electric piano. My parents got that for me when I was like, I don't know, 3 years old maybe. I could have been 2. But yeah, I've been doing music basically from the time I was a baby. Yeah.
Were your parents into music too?
My dad, yeah. My dad used to play saxophone when he was in elementary/junior high school. So he's the reason why I started with saxophone. Because I started sax in middle school.
So you were in band?
Yep.
At school?
Yeah, I was a band geek.
Nice. Now, how about music theory? Did you start learning that pretty young, or did that come at university, or what's your experience there?
Yeah, I mean, so I'm assuming you mean like when I started to officially learn it, but I mean technically, right? When you listen to music, you're already learning it. You just don't know what exactly you're hearing, right? Or you don't know how to put it into words. But yeah, so officially learning, I tried in high school, but the thing about high school was we didn't have any official classes. And I had people telling me like learn 2-5-1s or whatever, this and that, and I was like, what the hell is 2-5-1? Some guy gave me a book to play through like 2-5-1s, and I played it, but I was like, what am I playing? Like I don't get this. But yeah, I officially started in university. No, sorry, let me backtrack a little bit. Before getting into university, I studied music theory on that website called musictheory.net. and that helped me to pass like the initial exam to get into the School of Music. So yeah, I guess self-study was my senior year of high school, and then after that, university is when I officially started with classes and stuff.
Yeah, I guess I made the distinction there because I was in orchestra for many years, but I feel like they never really taught you music theory. They teach you how to like read the music and stuff, but like you said, when I first got into music theory, I was like, oh wow, I don't know any of this stuff. So there's definitely like a distinction between even reading music and like really understanding what's going on.
Yeah.
So you play saxophone and some keyboard. What do you keep up with now? What do you still play? Is there anything else, other instruments too?
Yeah, so I also was an electric guitarist for a few heavy metal bands. Most of them not so big. There was one band called Fear Control in the Austin area over there in Texas. I was part of that band for maybe a year, a little bit less, a little more. I can't remember exactly. But it's hard to say which instrument I love the most. The thing is, like, depending on what I play, or rather, depending on what genre I play is going to depend on, like, what instrument I'll pick up. And it's hard for me to like transfer styles. So for example, what I'm trying to say is, like, if I play electric guitar, I'm going to be playing metal. If I play saxophone, I'm going to be playing jazz. Piano, I used to be really good at piano, but I stopped because I focused on sax and guitar. So right now, piano's only for composing, but I just started some piano lessons. So I'm trying to get those chops back up. I know you're a composer as well, so you know if you're a good piano player, it makes the composing process much quicker and much more smoother, right? So that's why I decided, let's take some lessons again.
So these days you're doing video game music. Are you writing also? Are you doing more music for yourself or for clients, or both?
Yeah, right now, pretty much everything I've written has been for either paying clients or for game jams. I've done a few games and also some composition jams as well. But my main project right now, I call it my main project, is a game called, and I'm probably butchering this because I haven't heard it actually spoken verbally, but it's called God Gear Ragdrahad maybe, and it's a 2D side scroller beat 'em up game with mecha characters. It's a mecha themed game, so this one has been really fun, and actually it was my first project that I landed as a composer, like as an official composer. And that's a whole nother story in itself. If you want to know more about that, maybe we can talk about that later. But
yeah, totally. How you met them and got into that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that project, I mean, if there was any like brand new composer looking for any special advice on how I got that gig and they wanted tips, sorry, I don't have them. Because this gig was landed purely by luck. I mean, I guess the only thing that I could say about this gig is that I was willing to put myself out there. So I was taking an online video game music course by a guy named Matt Kenyon, and his website is called Composer Code. Do you happen to know Composer Code, by the way?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Matt Kenyon is the owner of that website. He's got a pretty good course on there. It's, I don't want to say it's beginner friendly because you do have to know some theory, but it's a pretty good introduction to video game music composition. But I was taking that course and I downloaded MuseScore, the music notation software, to follow along in that course. And of course with MuseScore you have like the MIDI instruments and all that, right? So I made a composition with those sounds, nothing special, like hardcore MIDI strings, MIDI everything. And I uploaded that to YouTube. And then I got a comment that same day I uploaded that video. And it was a guy saying, hey, are you open for commissions? I'm looking for a composer for a video game that I'm doing. And I was like, what? I was like, how'd I get a like, how do I already have a chance for a gig like this early on? I'm not ready. And by that point, I only knew how to use GarageBand. I had never really worked with external plugins or like, downloading different sound libraries and loading them into your DAW. I had no clue how to do any of that stuff. And the thing is, my situation now, so I'm actually in Japan. So my Mac that I was using for GarageBand is back home in the US. So now I'm using a PC, and what's funny is like I'm using like a laptop / tablet. I don't even have a real like true setup. So it's been kind of a struggle trying to figure out like how do I work with this but use stuff that's high quality, right? But anyway, yeah, so that's how I felt. I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, can I really take on this project? So I emailed I emailed Matt Kenyon from Composer Code, and I asked like, hey, do you think I would be able to take on a project like this? And he said, absolutely, man. He's like, you compose well. You should go for it. This will be a learning experience for you. So I was like, okay. I dove in, and I tell you, I spent many nights just like scouring the internet, trying to find good plugins, trying to figure out what would work with my computer. I mean, I got 8 gigs of RAM, that I'm working with right now. Eventually, I'm going to have to upgrade because things are getting more serious. So, but yeah, just trying to figure out what do I do to get this guy some good sounding instruments, right? But yeah, eventually I came across everything that I needed, and now he's like really happy with everything that I'm giving him. So, but anyway, yeah. Sorry, I kind of went too deep into it, but that's how I landed that gig. It was just uploading a YouTube video, and he found me by chance.
And you're still working on this project?
Still working on it.
How long has that been?
Been almost a year now. It's been very slow, yeah, because the game is still like under development. So we've done maybe 2 or 3 tracks by this point, and there's still about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 more.
Nice. Have you ever heard of Museo? Museo, the website?
Yeah, I'm using Museo now, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think one of the advantages there is that because a lot of it is cloud-based, it saves you from having to need a lot of resources on your own computer. So, how's your experience been with that?
With Museo, oh, it's been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It's Museo is kind of an introductory thing in my point. From my point of view, I think it's kind of introductory. It still has a lot of stuff. You can still make a full track with only Museo instruments. But yeah, it's wonderful. You have all the different articulations. You can layer the articulations if you want to, maybe if you want to do like a forte piano, like you have like you could start with a staccatissimo or a staccato, depending on what kind of sound you want, but then layer it over like a sustain and have that really low, and then crescendo from there to get that like boom. But yeah, Museo is really good. Like, I would recommend it to anybody who's first starting out. Easy to use, easy interface. It loads quickly with the exception of like key switches, depending on your computer,
I see them on X, and I see that they're constantly getting new libraries and new strings and stuff. So it seems like they're constantly growing.
Yeah, definitely. They do updates quite often, and they take the feedback pretty seriously too, because on every instrument that they have, there's a little option button. You can press that and put submit feedback, and they'll answer you when you submit the feedback. They'll be like, okay, thank you for telling us. We'll look into that. So it's a good company.
How about MIDI controllers? What kind of hardware are you using there? Do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed to share my setup because I'm honestly in my first year of composition. I'm surprised that I have the experience that I do. Like I've landed a few gigs already and stuff, but So I'm still new to a lot of stuff. So my gear is kind of like, not all that yet. But my MIDI controller is what's the company? Nectar, I think is how you say it. Impact GXP49, so the 49 keyboard. It gets the job done.
Yeah, that's solid.
It feels pretty good too. Yeah.
Honestly, I don't think you really need much more than that. If you've got something with some touch-sensitive keys and a couple knobs you can use, like, you can do pretty much everything,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Have you ever looked into... there are MIDI controllers on the iPhone and the Android and tablets and stuff. Have you ever looked into any of those?
Yeah, I haven't tried those yet. They look very useful, especially for like, setting up articulations and stuff. I've seen I forgot the name of the program, but there's that one software where you can use your iPad, or not iPad, but just a tablet in general, to have the actual articulations listed out. Like you can see the words, and you just push that to change the articulation. That looks pretty neat.
That's cool. It's either Mike Piatti or Matt Piatti, the guy who runs Museo. He posted just the other day he used some AI to generate a webcam-based MIDI controller where you just like use your hands and it tracks your hands and you can like do your crescendos and stuff. So yeah. There's all kinds of cool stuff coming out.
Yeah, I did see that too. That's pretty cool.
Do you have a style that you make, or how would you describe your music?
Yeah, of course, every musician and composer is going to say their style is unique. We all have our own bias, right? But I guess, so me, like, my original style before I ended up in the situation I'm in now, because just to kind of explain very quickly, leaving from the US to come to Japan, I couldn't bring my guitar. And I haven't found a way to send my guitar over. And as you might know, the yen has been pretty weak. So it's been hard to save up money to buy a guitar over here. That's why all I have is my MIDI keyboard right now. So normally I write metal, like maybe in the metalcore style. I'm kind of stuck in the old school days of the late 2000s, maybe, with August Burns Red and all that. So that's the style that I specialize in. I would say like that's my strong point there. But since I didn't have a guitar and I don't like to use virtual guitar sounds, like playing that on keyboard, it's just, as a guitarist, it doesn't feel right, So what ended up happening was I tried to dive into like that orchestral style of composition, but I still wanted to do like heavy metal style. So basically, I'm doing kind of like a Tomoya Otani from like Sega, or maybe like Jun Senoue, where they have like orchestras or like brass and woodwinds, whatever, playing along with a drum kit. And they have double bass, or they're doing, usually in Sonic it's like the breakcore style, right? And so that's pretty much the style that I'm writing in. It's kind of, a lot of times it sounds like metalcore, but no guitars, only orchestra. But there's a drum kit in there, so.
Very nice. Are you familiar with the Rolly Seaboard?
Actually, no, I'm not.
It's a MIDI keyboard, but it's basically made out of all rubber, and it's MPE, so it's the multi-polyphonic MIDI. And I'm also a string player, I come from like violin and guitar, and you can play the keyboard like a string instrument. It's got aftertouch, so you can push and swell. You can slide your fingers up and down to control a MIDI aspect, and you can vibrato and slide up and down it. So it feels like you're playing a string instrument. So yeah, if you ever get a chance to check out that as a string player, I think you'd really enjoy it.
Oh, that sounds nice. Yeah, definitely got to check that out.
What's your process like when you're writing a song? Do you have like a steps that you normally follow, or is it just kind of you find something, you build around it?
Yeah, I can't really say I follow like one specific set of steps every single time because it really depends on the music that I'm writing, and you know, depending on the genre, how comfortable I'm with it. Sometimes I'll start with the melody, and then build from there. But sometimes, you know, I'll take a more harmonic approach and actually start with a chord progression first. Um, I also know one of my favorite ways to compose is starting with the bass line, because I mostly learned this through that course I mentioned earlier on composer code. But he kind of like this was stuff I already knew, but he kind of made it more clear to me through his courses that like how should I say it? The approach that you can take for writing bass lines. So you know, instead of always playing root, right? You play the third in the root. Sometimes you can do the fifth, or even like I forgot that one level from the original Mario Kart, like Frappy Snowland or however you say it. It's like the chord progression is 1 4 5, but the bass is playing like when we talk about relative to the scale, like the first degree, second degree, and third degree. So you have like what is it? I don't know, A C over A or something like that. I can't remember the chord progression, but so when Matt Kenyon was talking about that stuff in his videos, I was like, oh, this is a cool way to approach songwriting, you know, like starting with the bass notes. So yeah, it really depends on the song, you know, and depending on how my brain works that day, right? And as far as like if I start in the DAW or start on a keyboard, it really all depends on the timing, like when I'm composing or when the idea comes to my head. Sometimes, you know, like many other composers, the idea will come to my head when I'm somewhere else, like far away from any instrument. So I have to do a voice memo and record so I don't forget later on, right? Yeah, that's my process in a nutshell.
Very nice. How have you been doing any self promotion and marketing? How do you approach that?
Yeah, nothing special so far, you know, like as far as making special social media posts and advertising them. I haven't really done that yet. At this point, all I'm doing is just trying to talk to people, just trying to really connect with mostly game developers. I want to meet other composers too because, you know, collaboration is super important on big game projects, even on movies. Like recently, I've been jamming a lot of movie soundtracks, and I've noticed that a lot of movies you'll see like music by blah 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 and blah blah blah, or lyrics by, right? So yeah, but right now, you know, besides that lucky gig that I got on YouTube, the other projects that I've got have just been through talking to people, both on social media and both in person.
Yeah, when people talk about networking, I think they often overthink it and overcomplicate it, and it's really just making friends, saying hey to people and meeting people and getting to know them without any specific kind of agenda, you know.
Yeah.
I I also, you know, I did a lot of networking and stuff on the tech side because I work in software and cybersecurity professionally. I also have I have a channel called Dev Dungeon, and I started doing interviews with video game developers over there. So I love video games as well. I love the programming side and the music side and the art side, and so that's kind of why I have these varied interests. But hopefully, I can fuse those together somehow and maybe even connect some people. So we'll see what we can do there. But that's cool to hear that you're getting to know people. Do you ever go to any conferences or anything?
Yeah, conferences. No, I haven't gone to one yet. and it's been kind of sad living over here in Japan. That might sound crazy being sad in Japan, but no, but it's because like I look at different events going on. Like recently there was GDC. There's also like the game SoundCon and stuff, and all of that is either back in the U.S. or some of those events are in maybe the UK or usually a Western country. And being out here in Japan and, like I said earlier, making money in yen and having a hard time saving up for stuff. And especially now, like I'm preparing for a wedding. Like I have a wedding in a little less than 2 months. So, we got that going on.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, so, but I did find out about an event that goes on in my area. So right now I'm living in Kyoto. I'm living outside of Kyoto City specifically, but there is an event called Kyoto Bit Summit over here. So that'll actually be my first event that I've ever attended. So that'll be sometime in July, and I'm definitely going to do whatever it takes to make it.
How long have you been in Japan again?
About 3 years now.
How's your Japanese?
Man, people say I'm fluent, but no. I'm conversational, and I can go to the store. Like, for example, if I need to change my phone plan or something, I can go in and ask them for a change to it, and I can get everything done, and, communication goes pretty well. The hard part about Japanese is that they have different levels of politeness. So, yeah, when you go into a store, you're not going to hear that basic Japanese that you learn out of the textbooks. It's always this high level, super respectful Japanese because they have a phrase over here that goes something like, the customer is God. So they have to talk to you very respectfully. And when they use that polite Japanese, it becomes extremely like, in my mind, it becomes so jumbled. It's like, oh my God, why do you have to add all these extra like suffixes and stuff just to sound polite? Just talk to me normally. But they're strict about their protocol. The customer's guide, you have to speak to them politely. It doesn't matter they're a foreigner, whoever, speak to them politely. So yeah.
So where should people go if they want to listen to some of your music and find out more about you and even hire you?
Yeah, so I actually have my website up right now. They can go to jezzaroddy.com. So I don't know if I spell it out.
I'll overlay that.
Okay.
I'll edit it in and put it over.
All right, I appreciate that. Thanks. Yeah, my website, and there it should lead you to all my other social media and stuff. I have videos on YouTube. I have like an original compositions playlist on YouTube as well. A demo reel up there. Although I do need to make a new demo reel because that one doesn't reflect the level I'm at now. But yeah, my website should be good enough to lead people to where they need to go.
Awesome. Well, Jezza, thank you for taking the time with me. It was really fun talking to you and getting to know more about you. If you get any projects in the future, I'd love to catch up again. So keep me informed on how things are going. And again, thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. This was fun. And we'll definitely keep in touch on X. I love listening to the style that you do. That stuff is out of my league, all the ambience and stuff. So I really respect it, man.
Well, thank you. Mm-hmm. All right.